Charles Barkley joining us. Your favorite 80s band. Do you have one?
Well, my favorite band all the time is a rap group called Public Enemy. That's my favorite rap group band. And Aretha Franklin's my favorite singer after that. So that's Dan, I'm old, man. I love that music from it. That was my day, my heyday.
Yeah, but those are different artists there. If you go to a Public Enemy concert or you go to Aretha Franklin, you're probably having different people. Your audience is different.
Yeah, that's 100%. But it's something about Public Enemy that always hit me in my soul. If you actually listen to their words, they were way ahead of their time. And I just love those guys.
You remember your first concert?
I think my first concert was Phil Collins.
Okay.
I think our coach, when I was playing at Auburn, he took us, I think we were playing Kentucky, and he took us to see Phil Collins. And I didn't know anything about Phil Collins. It's kind of like, the Eagles are my favorite band. I've been traveling with the Eagles for the last 30 years. I'm getting ready to go see them actually on their last tour at like November the 3rd. I think they're in Atlanta. I've seen them 50 times. I've been with those guys even before Glenn Fry passed away. But they're the kind of band like Billy Joel or Phil Collins. You don't even know all the good songs they sing until they start singing them. Because like I say, we didn't even want to go see Phil Collins. And then when he started singing songs, I'm like, oh, he sings that. Oh, he sings that. It's the same way when I started going to see the Eagles about probably 35 years ago. I go see the Eagles probably 5 to 7 times a year.
Yeah. I know you're going to the Auburn game. How close do you think you got to convincing Auburn to bring in Deion Sanders to be your coach?
That's a great question. I made it publicly and privately known that I wanted Deion. That's all I could do. I really wanted Deion at Auburn because I think wherever he goes, he's going to be successful. He's just that great of a coach and a person. And but you know what? I have to be careful with that, Dan. We hired Hugh Freeze, and I'm all in on Coach Freeze. But I really want Deion at Auburn. But like I say, we got Coach Freeze now, and I got to support him 100%.
How do you, I guess, sum up what has happened at Colorado this year with Deion? How would you describe it?
It's what I know that Deion was going to do. Like, he has the it factor. Like, first of all, he's a really great person. I think sometimes we see people, their persona, and don't understand and listen to them. But I tell you, man, he's a great coach. He got a great staff. He reminds me a lot of Nick Saban. And I think Nick Saban's the greatest coach ever. He's not afraid to hire great assistants. You look at Deion's staff, I think everybody on his staff either played or been a head coach somewhere. And see, I think what separates Saban, a lot of coaches are cowards, Dan. They're afraid to hire good coaches because they worry about their job. If you're secure in your coaching, you hire good assistants because you can't do everything. You can't do everything. You can't run the special teams, coach the offense, coach the defense, coach the linebackers, coach the offensive line. You have to hire good assistants. And I think that's what Nick Saban does better than anybody else. And when you look at Deion's staff, everybody's been a head coach in college or the NFL, and that's why he's going to be successful.
When you were at Auburn, so Frank Thomas was at Auburn, Bo Jackson at Auburn. Were you guys there at the same time?
Yes, we were there all about 3 years of college. I was with those guys, and me and Frank got treated like crap. Just for the record, I want to make that perfectly clear, because Auburn, as much as I love Auburn, they don't, until Bruce Pearl got there and Sonny Smith, they never cared about basketball. Like, I used to go out. People would knock me out the way to get to Bo Jackson. It didn't bother me at the time. It bothered me later. Like, even when I go back down there now, if I'm with Bo, they're going to knock me out the way to get to Bo Jackson. But football's just King Kong down there. I mean, that's just how it is. Yeah. But that's the South, though, Dan. You know how the South is. Alabama, Georgia, Florida. I mean, football is just king.
Did you realize what you were seeing with Bo Jackson?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I saw Bo play in high school. We had a really good high school team. And one Friday night, we went and played Bo. And the one thing that people don't understand about Bo, like most guys get bigger and stronger as they grow and get to high school, get to college. Bo was the same size his whole life. And we played them. And I'm not even exaggerating, Dan. Every time he touched the ball, he either scored or came close to scoring. He was so big, so strong, so fast. And I tell people one of the great joys of my life was getting to go watch Bo Jackson play football every weekend.
But you didn't play football.
I played one day, then I realized I realized they were hitting out there. It's only two sports where you can't fake it. Boxing and football. If you step on a football field or in a boxing ring, bad stuff can happen to you. You can fake basketball. I mean, we got some guys out there softer than baby crap. But you can't fake football and you can't fake boxing. I played one day, Dan, and then it was bad coaching too because he put me on the defensive line. I just ran full speed into a dude for 2 hours. I had no idea what we were doing. And like, seriously, he came to me later. He said, I should have put you at tight end or linebacker or something like that. But he put me on the defensive line because those were really the only two spots. The offensive line and the defensive line, those actually the only two spots on a football team that actually work all the time.
But if you were going to put together a football lineup from basketball players.
Well, please don't say LeBron. This dude be making me so mad thinking he can play football. Yeah, he played football in high school because he was bigger than everybody else. What's one thing about the pros? You're not bigger or faster than anybody else. I will tell you something, though. I think my guards, like 6'2", 6'3", they would make like a Russell Westbrook, somebody like that. Guys like that built sturdy. Yeah. I think they would make great wide receivers or safeties.
Well, I could see Russell Westbrook as a strong safety, a defensive.
No question. I love that guy as a player. And if he had played football, he would have been all pro as a safety or a corner. Yeah. But I think most of the guards who were fast and quick, like a Kevin Johnson, I think, guys like that, I think they could have been a wide receiver or a safety or a corner. But let's be honest, most of my NBA players, they're not tough enough to play football. They're not. No disrespect to them. We have way more talent now, don't get me wrong. But as far as that going out there just knocking the hell out of somebody every play, basketball players aren't built like that.
Talking to Charles Barkley, the Hall of Famer, your reaction when you heard the Bucks were getting Dame Lillard was what?
Well, I think that made them the favorite in the Eastern Conference. I have to be honest with you, Dan, I thought that was a good trade for all three teams. I thought it was a good trade for all three teams, but the big winner were the Milwaukee Bucks. And, it's going and I hope it keeps Giannis in Milwaukee his entire career. And I pull for Dame to win the championship. I pull for guys who haven't won the championship to win the championship because the one thing you don't want to be on the crap list. When you guys say great player, but he never won anything. And, I'm on that list, me, Carl, and Patrick, and those guys who are all great Hall of Fame players. But it sucks when people try to minimize your achievements. So I really hope Dame can get him a championship in Milwaukee. But I hope the main thing, it keeps Giannis in Milwaukee his entire career.
Yeah, I think what the Suns did is kind of sneaky. They needed depth there. What concerns you about the Suns?
Nothing. They got everything they need. But
I
will
the
tell
team
you,
to beat out West?
They're in the conversation. I love what the Lakers did this summer. I loved what the Lakers did. And also, you can't disrespect the Nuggets. I think they lost a couple of key pieces. That's the only thing that concerns me about the Nuggets. But you got to really love what the Lakers have done and the Suns have done. But those three teams, don't forget Sacramento now. Sacramento should have beat the Warriors. But in the East, it's the Celtics and the Bucks. Yeah. They're head and shoulders above everybody in the East.
How frustrating is it when you face somebody like the Joker, and he doesn't do anything special, but you look at the stat sheet and you go, oh my God, like he had that. I mean, he's not fast, he can't jump, but he understands the game. Would you rather face a guy who had incredible athleticism or the guy you're going, this drives me crazy because he doesn't do one thing better than me?
Well, well, he reminds me of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson because neither one of those guys you would say had exceptional athletic ability, but they are two of the greatest players ever because of hard work and brains and work ethic. And I've told people they're the two most important people in NBA history because they saved the NBA. Every time I see Magic and Bird, I say, thank you for making all us. They saved the NBA. If it weren't for those two guys, I mean, obviously Michael took it to another level, but if it weren't for Magic and Bird, none of us would be around today. But he reminds me of Magic and Bird. They didn't have exceptional athletic ability, but they're two of the greatest ever. And to answer your question, I always wanted to play against really athletic guys because most of them were dominant rocks, first and foremost. And because they always played the game on athletic ability. Yeah. They never used their brains. Yeah. And the thing is, you can get through athletic ability in high school, you can get through athletic ability in college, but the problem is when you get to the NBA, you're not going to be more talented than LeBron or Michael or Kevin Durant or Devin Booker or Jason Tatum. That's the problem. So I used to love playing against athletic guys because you can outsmart them because they just want to run and jump. They don't use any of their brain cells. I used to tell people, I used to hate Jeff Turner at Vanderbilt. I used to hate him. They box you out every play. I'm like, yo, man, can we just run and jump and get the rebound? I don't want to wrestle with you. Then when you play against a Kentucky or a Florida, it became an athletic contest, and then you can really do your thing. I used to hate to play with them. Them guys who box you out every play, every time I saw Vanderbilt, like, damn, they're gonna block me out every play. They're not gonna be careless with the ball. They're gonna make those simple little basic passes. I mean, I used to hate playing against the smart kids, Dan. I really did.
How you doing gambling with the NFL?
I'm doing good to Lions, man. Hey, I've been on the Lions for like I started on the Lions. Dan, you got to introduce me to Dan Campbell. I'm the biggest Dan Campbell fan in the world. I've been on his bandwagon for like over a year now. I started betting on the Lions like the last 6-7 games last year. I had them against Kansas City. They screwed me against the Saints, but they made up for it last week and last night. But I'm a big man. I love Dan Campbell. He just seems to me, anybody who loves their sport, I got love and respect for them. And, so I had them last night. And let me tell you something, man. I'm going to drive to New York and beat the hell out of whoever stopped that damn Marlins game last night. I had the Marlins last night. They had a 3-hour rain delay and screwed me out of my money, Dan, and say they're not going to play the game unless it's necessary next Tuesday. I was like, I cannot believe. I was like, I'm going to take the Marlins. They've lost 2 or 3 in a row. They're going to win going into the weekend. And I'm sitting there. I'm going back and forth. It's 2-1. And then there's a rain delay. And then 3 hours later, there's a rain delay. And don't normally they call the game if after 5 innings and award somebody a win?
Are you going to Vegas for the Super Bowl?
I got to make that decision. It's so interesting you asked that question. Me and my boys, I got about 10, 15 guys. We've been 26 straight years to Vegas for the Super Bowl. But we know it's going to be ridiculous and stupid and crazy. So we're trying to decide, to be honest with you. We got time before we were. We've been 26 straight years. Vegas is the best place in the world for the Super Bowl. And we're like, because the last time I went there for a big event was the NBA All-Star game. And it was one of the worst experiences of my life. It took like 2 hours to go like 2 blocks. Because everybody's there. All the riffraff drove in from around the country. I told them, I said, guys, why don't we all just come to my house? Because we play golf all weekend. Like we played golf even on the Sunday of the Super Bowl. So we play golf all day Friday, all day Saturday, and we play Sunday morning because the game don't start at 3 o'clock Pacific. So I told the guys, I said, we got to make a decision. Either all y'all come and stay at my crib or we go there and bear it. But the problem is you won't be able to get around. It's probably going to be hard to go play golf on Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. My favorite part of the Subway commercials are when they give you a short amount of time to get all those words in, and you're doing your damnedest to tread water to get all those words in describing the sandwich.
Dan, let me tell you something what's crazy. Number one, I have really enjoyed working with Subway. It's been amazing and fun and amazing all the people they put in the commercial. When we first started doing the commercial, I thought it was the stupidest thing in the world. I really did. So, I go in this little room and I'm talking like, hey, Dan Patrick, it's good to see you, blah, blah, blah. Hey, how the other guys doing? They're like, no, you got to go faster. I said, hey, Dan Patrick, how you doing? How the other guys doing? They're like, no, you got to go faster. I was like, nobody talks like that. And they're yelling at me because I'm on a Zoom with like 20 people. They're like, no, you got to go faster, Chuck. And I says, when I walked out this is a true story, Dan. The first time I did the commercial, I called my agent. I said, man, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. But I got to admit, when they put it together, it works perfectly. But when I first did the commercial, I told my agent, I said, hey, I'm glad I cashed that check already because this is going to be the worst commercial ever. But I give him credit. It's been a great relationship. But, man, you're right. And I'm screaming too, Dan. I'm talking as fast as humanly possible. I mean, I'm talking really fast and I'm screaming. And you're right. It's fun when I do it. But I'm screaming into a microphone for like 2 hours as fast as I can talk. I actually have to shut up for the rest of the day because I lose my voice.
Safe travels to Auburn. Great to talk to you again. Thank you, bud.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Hey, you guys be safe. Have a great weekend. War Down Eagle.